Caught Offside with Andrew Gunling and JJ Devaney.
Oh, yes! Caught Offside from the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Andrew Gunling and JJ Devaney. What's up, brother?
Do you like my jumper?
Oh, I actually really do.
Yeah.
JJ is wearing a beautiful 1994 USA World Cup sweatshirt, non-hoodie. So you know it's kind of more of the old school variety. It's really nice. Now, my question for you is, did you actually purchase that in or around 1994, or did you buy that at some sort of, hey, let's be hip and sell things from a bygone era?
I did not. I would say it's more towards the latter.
Okay.
Unfortunately, all my USA 94 memorabilia, of which I had lots because Ireland were there, with the official cresting like I have, I don't know where it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just lost it.
Well, no, I have the jersey from 94, the Green Ireland jersey, but the actual stuff with the star-spangled banner, which has been turned into a football.
Yeah. I know we've addressed this before on this podcast because oftentimes jerseys and kits, it's a fun conversation to have. But JJ, we're acquiring new listeners every day that don't know our thoughts on many things. The 94 USA World Cup jerseys.
Terrible at the time, but great over time.
Only because you're a hipster, and it's cool to like things that were once considered hideous and ugly.
But it has a kitsch value, I suppose.
Like, you only like those jerseys because they're from 1994. If the U.S. team was wearing those jerseys today, you would say, what are they thinking?
Actually, I wouldn't, because it would show a consistent trend in jersey selection that the U.S. has never shown before. I've always said, would you, for God's sake, pick a jersey and go with it? No one could tell me
every country on earth has different jerseys for every World Cup cycle and international tournament cycle.
Yeah, but they don't change the colours all the time.
That is true.
We haven't a Scooby-Doo. What our colours should be.
The U.S. has utilized every shade of red and blue imaginable, with the exception maybe of like sky blue.
Sky blue, we haven't been there, I don't think.
Right.
Although we had a jersey that faded at the bottom that kind of went into sky blue. We've had a denim jersey, for God's sake.
Well, that was the 94 one.
Right.
Oh, boy. What a show, though. What a show we have coming up right now. Thrilling game this afternoon between Manchester United and Crystal Palace. We'll get to that. We can't let this podcast go by because you and I do so much blabbering on about movies and things. So the Oscars happened last night, and we kind of have a nice Oscars-themed section of the podcast for you as our vessel into addressing the things that happened this past weekend in the sport. A mailbag, do we have?
Of course we have a mailbag.
What to watch for, Red Cards, Man of the Match. We should say that this is one of two podcasts this week. We have another one on Wednesday, so keep your eyes open for that following the second legs. They'll all, this round of second legs, obviously there's been kind of split into two, sort of.
So we can elongate it further.
Right, but so we will have instant reaction as all of that winds up. There's really only two ties that I think are like the Real Madrid PSG. I think even that one, well, we'll get to it in our What to Watch.
Yeah, let's not shoot ahead. But I will say to other people that we, a regular feature on the show now that's become wildly popular for no good reason. Yes, we will have a ZipRecruiter read.
And JJ will be doing it. Don't worry, everyone. I'm even excited for this one. He gave a brief glimpse as to what it could be if you were paying very close attention a week and a half ago.
I almost just whispered it.
Yeah, but so the longtime listeners will know when he said what he did. I think they know what's coming, and I'm very excited about it. Let's see. Manchester United 3, Crystal Palace 2. I saw a stat today that I guess it was kind of shocking to me. But maybe it shouldn't be. This was Jose Mourinho's first ever win in the Premier League after trailing by 2 goals in a game.
That is kind of shocking.
I mean, he's been around long enough, and he's managed teams good enough that you would have thought once before something like that would have happened. But no, this was the first time. It was also the first time that Crystal Palace held a lead against Manchester United.
Crazy.
Yeah. Those stats according to Opta, Joe.
Who is very reliable. I guess the thing to say is that we consider Jose Mourinho teams as so defensively well managed that them going 2-0 down just seems ridiculous.
It's a rarity. Yeah. It was the first time that United came back from a 2-goal deficit since they did so against Hull in 2013. A tale of two halves, I guess, or even a tale of 60 minutes versus 30 minutes. I mean, Crystal Palace were pretty good.
They were good.
I wouldn't say, the bulk of the chances were still more so at United's end, but Palace finished their chances very well. I mean, they opened the scoring pretty early in this one. They deserved to be ahead like they were, but then was it fatigue that set in for them?
You could kind of see them getting gassed, and United kind of, from what we've heard, is that Mourinho ripped them a new one at half-time. He really tore into the United team, and clearly the second half performance shows that they were that much better. The first half was interesting because it's as bad a half of football as United have ever put in under anyone. It was really, really poor for considering the talent that they had on the field. And then they just, the second half, it was a combination of United being much better and also Palace not able to sustain and not knowing what to do with a 2-0 lead, I think is part of it as well. And I think it's going to be one they'll look back at, Andrew, considering the peril they're in, and they may regret it hugely. I mean, there was this, I think it was Martin Tyler might have said that, I'm paraphrasing now, he said they're kind of playing with house money at 2-0 up, and I'm like, that's absolutely not the case.
It's the most dangerous lead in the sport.
No, if they're in the middle of the table, safe, on 40 points, you could say, look, whatever happens here, it's been a fun game, they've scored 2 goals, it doesn't matter. There's no house money to be played with here. This is not a bonus result. They can't afford to just strike one through and say, well, we're not going to win that game, especially as it transpired, they went up 2-0. Yeah.
The loss, it drops them to 18th in the table. Southampton creeps 1 point above them. Newcastle 2 points above. So it's very tight, and this is going to change so much. It's almost, with the exception of West Brom, who I think we can say are probably going down.
Yeah, I think they're gone.
But everything aside from that is so far, it's going to change so many times between now and the end of the season. So it's going to be a fun watch down at the bottom of the table.
But that's why it's so important to, if there's 3 points there and you're 2-0 up at home in an unexpected way,
you can't squander it.
You can't.
And the interesting thing too, you say Mourinho led into them, a tale of two halves. Well, here's the thing. It was still 1-0 at the half. And United were dreadful in the first half, and Mourinho may have led into them and may have done what he could to rally them, but Patrick Van Arnholt scored within 3 minutes of the second half.
Well, now, how should I put this? That was just completely switching off. I know you think, if he's got into them, they should be focused, but that free kick was so quickly taken, so intelligently played, and the strike at the end was wicked.
Near post, perfect placement, Yeah,
and David Priest, a friend of the pod on Twitter, who's an ex-goalkeeper himself, said, okay, he's beaten at the near post, but De Gea's not saving that. He'd done as much as he could. There's nothing he could do. It just was perfectly struck. That was a really quickly taken free kick that caught them out. I don't think it's in keeping with the general flow of the second half.
And then United, at that point, then they switched on. And was it Palace switching off? I mean, the Chris Smalling goal that he scored, where was the defending?
Right.
It seemed like there were a couple players for
United.
They
are where they are because of,
you're right.
They're not going to be able to do it for 90 minutes. If they were, we wouldn't be talking about them in this kind of...
You're right. And then Lukaku scores the equalizer in the 76th.
And Smalling had a header beforehand.
Yeah.
And it was just James Tompkins backing into him that kept him from not putting it in the back of the net.
The Lukaku goal... off a crazy deflection off the crossbar, gets to Lukaku.
It was a good move. Now
he stutters with it, and then takes another deflection off of his shot and goes in. But a little bit of controversy is it. I mean, is that a handball? We go back and forth all the time on this show about what is or isn't a handball in the box. Now, usually we're talking about the defense, but in this case, it looked to me like Lukaku helped settle that ball with his hand.
It's hit him in the hand. His body shape is lending itself towards it, but I don't think it was intentional. Does that matter? I don't know. I will say this though, Andrew. It did hit him in the hand, and it prompted the Palace fans to get up, and they were irate and incensed because it was so obvious to them. But what shouldn't have happened is what happened. There was 4 or 5 statues in front of him.
Whoa.
Palace defenders. Yeah. Come on. It's gone through the shot's gone through every single one of them past the goalkeeper.
Well, and it took a deflection off of one of them, which helped its way in.
They've got to get out and block it. And also, it's a tale of non-blocks again with the winner. As good as a strike as that was by Matic. What am I always saying, Andrew? And you've roundly criticised me for this. You can't. It's unacceptable for Milivojevic not to get out there properly. He turns away.
See, here's the problem that I have with what he did today. What I don't criticize is
turning your back on.
Right.
You think that's fine?
I'm okay with a player who turns his back.
Lord.
But
your standards. Oh, my God.
As long as they close out the player with the ball. I didn't think that Milivojevic did that today. I thought that he was just way too hesitant and allowed Matic way too much space. And he turned his back.
You got to throw yourself. Remember how John Terry used to?
Right.
Arms out, spread chest, straight into it, take it in the face, take it in the cojones.
I think you can
take it in the. You just go for it.
Again, if he had, like you say, if he had thrown himself at it, like you say John Terry did, and turned his back, I would be okay with it. But it's that I don't think he threw himself at it and he turned his back.
Well, where's the desire?
He did everything wrong.
That's the thing we got to talk about.
Absolutely, and it led to this.
Blocked by MacArthur. Oh, what a goal! Nemanja Matic! He's won it for Manchester United with his first goal for the club. The former Chelsea man back in London bought the ticket and won the raffle.
Now,
God, I love him.
It's a half volley as well. So he's a chance, if you watch it, Matic lets it hop and catches it perfectly. But that's too much time.
Yes.
Come on, do you want to stay up at all?
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. You know what I was thinking as that goal was transpiring? And look, by no means am I a Manchester United fan. I'm not a Crystal Palace fan. I'm rooting for them today. But by and large, I'm a neutral watching this game. You know the one thing I was thinking?
What?
Damn you, Manchester City. Because this game would have been... it was epic on its own. But the fact that it didn't really... For United, it doesn't really mean anything. You know, they're going to...
Well, I don't know about that.
Probably
they're going to... Sorry. Liverpool come to them.
But all right, so we're talking about what? Whether or not United finished second or third?
This is what's happening, yeah.
So
I mean, the bragging rights in the Northwest are important.
If City hadn't just so blown away the field, this would have been such an epic game. But the league is essentially decided. So the neutral fan in me was kind of like,
As we move on, I'll get to that a little bit. Yeah. I did some interesting reading as I am wont, as is my wont.
Yeah, you love to read. You're very well read. We all know all of your book exploits.
I make myself out to be such an intellectual, but I'm not.
So that was Manchester United 3-2 over Crystal Palace in probably a nominee if we start thinking about our Devonlings at the end of the year for Game of the Year.
Oh, calm down, Sally.
It's on the
Lots
list.
of time left.
Really? No, I mean, not a ton.
Liverpool, Man City.
There's only 9 games left in the season.
All right.
Speaking of the Devonlings, we know that they take precedence over all award shows in the soccer world.
I think Jimmy Kimmel may have opened with that line.
However, there's one award show that took precedence overall last night, and that was the Oscars. Yes. What'd you think last night? I'm a Jimmy Kimmel guy. I really enjoy him. I thought he was very funny.
Kimmel's fine. Kimmel's okay. No, Kimmel's good.
I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. I hadn't seen enough of the films.
Yeah, I know. But isn't that... I feel like
that's
bad. Usually the case.
There's some years I go in armed and I'm pumped because I've seen so much.
You have your rooting interest. See, because of the way some of our listeners and my sister have just pummeled Dunkirk, I was rooting for it last night like it was Spurs. It won 3 awards, and every time it did, I texted my sister right away, come at me, bro. Just any trash talk that I could think of. So I was very pleased with
You really
want
that Christopher Nolan PR job, don't you?
I like him.
I loved the film.
Yeah.
So,
so here's what we are going to do as we look back upon this past weekend.
By the way, just to interrupt,
Yeah.
Saying it's too tense is not a criticism.
It's a World War II movie.
Do you realize the scenario?
Yeah. I mean, like, the fate of modern civilization was kind of resting on what happened.
I just found it too tense.
Well, you know what? We've done that. Look, we like it. Some people don't. Why can't we just be okay with that? Why do we need everyone to agree with us? This is what makes the pictures so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what we've done. I've broken down a few categories here based on certain movies. And based on that movie, we will talk about certain games. It'll all make perfect sense. Just don't worry. The first category here is...
And the Oscar goes to... Darkest Hour.
The Darkest Hour. And with that in mind, where else to begin but Arsenal? Because it feels like their darkest hour under Arsene Wenger has cometh.
You sure about that? We have such a range of darkest hours. Is it, the way there's a false dawn? We seem to have a lot of false darkest hours when it comes to Arsene Wenger and his tenure here.
It is true. I feel like we've said, people always it can't get any worse. Well, it can, because they can continue to lose.
And it is.
But here's why I would say that they're probably in their darkest hour right now. This was their 10th loss of the season. It's their most since the 2011-12 campaign. JJ, there are still 9 games to play. Now, I don't know how many more opportunities there really are for them to lose, because they've gone through probably the most difficult patch of their schedule. They play Leicester, at Leicester, and they play at United. Those are the 2 most difficult that they have in these final 9. So there's a chance, maybe they may only lose 1 more game, I guess is what I'm saying.
The mood around the club would suggest that's not the case. They are 33 points off the championship leaders right now. It's incredible.
I tried to mount a defense for them last week after they had lost to Manchester City in the cup final. And by the way, that was before I mounted that defense before we recorded Thursday afternoon, and City played Arsenal later that day. And it was history repeating. It was another 3-0, and it was
ugly.
And it was over fast. Yeah. That game was over very quickly. But again, if you wanted to trick yourself into it, you could say, again, it's Manchester City. This is what you would typically expect. Arsenal are in poor form. But JJ, I don't know. Maybe there's an Arsenal fan out there who can do it. I'm not even going to try. I don't know what the defense is that you mount after a loss to Brighton. With things being in the state that they're in, you can't come out ready at home for a game like that.
I feel like a lot of Arsenal fans right now, there's nothing left to say, and the banner that was held up, Wenger out now, not 2019. And
or not at home. That was on the road.
Yeah, but
nevertheless, though,
it's the nature of the performance.
Here's something that caught my attention. This is Arsene Wenger speaking Monday, so he had some time to let it sink in on the loss.
We had difficulty to get going, and I feel we suffered a lot physically in the first half. And after that, mentally as well, I believe that the lack of confidence linked with the physical aspect made us lose some balls where we took advantage of it. And overall, on top of that, we made some defensive mistakes, so we took advantage of it as well. In the second half was all us, but we lack a bit sharpness and freshness physically to make the difference. We played at the moment too many games and were charged negatively on top of that because we lose them. So it's very difficult.
Yeah, but you see, Arsene, it just seems entirely plausible that you lose that